She took the knowledge she had learned, and with her child she fled her home. His rage redoubled, for a wife to flee her husband was the greatest insult. He ordered she not be allowed a moment's respite until she was captured. His hunters were skilled, dreadfully so, but none more than his son, trained in the midnight style of combat. The son, named for the slaying lance, so keenly, so quietly did he pursue that she found a group of zebras destined to toil in the earth, and joined them to escape his bullets. Still, he found her, but in his haste he missed the shot that mattered most. Now dead in the eyes of the remnant, she sought sanctuary in the shades of the most dreadful of cities. She gave a sad smile. "Have you ever heard something so silly? Such a silly mare for wishing upon the stars." I rose and walked around the table to hug her. I knew she couldn't hear, but I whispered anyway. "She sounds pretty courageous to me." When we parted, I asked quietly, "Why do zebras hate Hoofington so much? I mean, I hate the things that happened here 200 years ago, but that was ponies messing stuff up. What's the zebra angle?" She shivered. "To explain that, you must know of the Eater of Souls. The stars are capricious, fickle, powerful, and mysterious. To some, their interference may be malevolent. To such malevolence is reflected only in their desires and wishes. Others see inspiration and feel the hoof of destiny in their patterns and movement. However, by and large, their actions and motivations are beyond all understanding and knowledge. The wise leave the business to the stars, The foolish call upon them. The damned demand of them. Such is the nature of such things. But there are stars who are malevolent. Stars evil and cruel, who cast out from the skies to turn into hard and crushing destruction. When they strike, their destruction is absolute. Their wrath and poison are unimaginable. Their hatred knows no limit, and their cruelty possesses no bounds. Cast from on high, they fall with terrible wrath. Such stars are truly the monsters most zebras dread. Once, a great zebra city spread out across this valley. Its towers rose to the heavens, and its tunnels plunged into the earth. Its occupants were wise, and its armies strong, its markets filled with fields of plenty, and its fields green and flowing. Gold and silver and gems decorated all from the highest prince to the lowest slave. It was every bit as fine as the ancient zebra capital of Rome. But for all its greatness, pride gnawed at its belly. In its desire to surpass all others, the city turned to folly and wickedness. Hearts hardened, minds closed, and its wealth was squandered. Its scholars and sages whispered their vile and poisonous worship to the skies and tainted the hearts of the stars. And so they attempted a terrible ritual. 10,000 zebra magi carved the talismans of the city into a glyph stretching for miles in all directions. Rare, potent, and dark regents were prepared, and in unison they cast a spell that united their powers, magnified it, and magnified it again. And they called down a star, the Eater of Souls. Perhaps they meant to capture it for their own. Perhaps they erred and meant for it to fall upon glorious Rome instead. Perhaps they knew not what their great spell would do, only knowing it would be wonderful and terrible. Regardless, the star fell. It shattered the great city, blackened its foul towers and ancient libraries. Its fires scorched the fertile fields and turned them to ash. The city's great wealth was buried, its knowledge lost. And so was the dread city lost for all time. The candle on the table had burned low by the time she had finished, casting flickering orange light over Sakashi's face. Or so we thought. When ponies came to this land, we tried to warn them of the star's evil. We told them that fallen stars only sleep within the earth, not lie there dead. And that which sleeps may dream. They would not listen, and so they built a new city atop the old, and so they repeated the folly of the old. You really think there's a fallen star under Hoofington? I asked softly, feeling a little skeptical. She smiled. I know ponies do not think so. Ponies do not believe in curses, hexes, and zebra hocus-pocus. They dug and searched, and though they found the bones of the star, they thought them little more than rocks. But dark things are ever associated here. It was here Nightmare Moon rose to challenge Celestia. Here the long night was the darkest. Here where the great towers rose and the great battles were fought. And the towers stand still, a headstone to the land that was slain in its war. It makes for a good story, I admitted, but it's not proof. She shrugged helplessly, her smile sad. How do you prove a story from so long ago? So why would the remnants be looking for meteorites? Perhaps he simply wished to dispose of them. When we find bones of the stars, we hide them in deep caves, bury them in desolate deserts, or sink them in the far sea. It is a great honor for any zebra, she said rather matter-of-factly. Still, I'd bet my itchy mane had to do something else. I groaned, burying my face in my forehooves. Do the stars also produce horribly convoluted plots and mysterious mysteries that are supposed to be solved by the most immensely unqualified ponies in the world? I asked, as I looked over at her plaintively. She reached over the table and patted my head in consolation. Walking back to the star house, I had to admit that I felt a little disturbed by the thoughts of stars, great and powerful entities, manipulating me and countless others. I simply couldn't accept that we were all puppets and that these terrible beings... It was too overwhelming. Fate was something I simply couldn't accept. Was I fated to kill 99? To wander the wasteland with EC 1101 on my leg? Finding a virtue was hard enough, but being a plaything of vastly powerful beings was more than I could handle. Sakashi told me that the Crusaders had left a path through the minefield up to my house, so I headed to the little gate in the makeshift barricade by Chapel's chapel. All I wanted was to save ponies and help my friends and find out what Project Horizons was about, deal with Sanguine and Light Hooves and Lancer, and now Fallen Stars too, apparently. It made me want to stick my head in a hole and just scream. Then I heard a suppressed giggle. It wasn't the giggle itself that caught my attention, though, so much as who it sounded like and the fact that I'd never expected to hear it from him. Carefully, I trot over to the corner of the chapel and peeked around behind it. Yes, P21 and... oh, my. Priest and P21 sat together in each other's hooves, the smaller blue pony resting his head on the black unicorn's shoulder. It wasn't just that they were cuddling that was shocking, though. It was the smile on my friend's face. "This is nice," he muttered. "I haven't felt like this. Happy. In a long time." "You deserve some happiness. All of you do," Priest said softly. "I don't," P21 murmured as he reached up to touch his neck. Priest silenced him with a kiss that turned his whole face red. I started to pull away, but what I heard next made me linger. "Don't start talking like Blackjack. You both deserve to be happy. It makes me want to thump you both when I hear you talking like you don't," Priest said firmly. P21 flushed and touched the scar around his throat again. "She saved me. She keeps saving me. Every pony does, over and over again." He closed his eyes. "I can't understand it. I'm not her. I'm no hero trotting around the wasteland. I don't even like most other ponies. Sometimes I feel like I hate every pony in the world. Especially her." He pressed his face into Priest's neck. "Especially me." Priest didn't recoil or pull away, but simply held him. "I'm glad she did. I like you, P21. You're serious, and you're focused and determined. and you have a lot of reasons to be angry with the world. I hope that I can give you the kind of love and attention a pony like you deserves." He sighed gently. "You have no idea how hard it is to see so many ponies you want to desperately help, but know that they're just going to finish their pilgrimage and rejoin Celestia." P21 looked towards the bridge a little longer than I liked, but then shook his head. "No, I don't think I'll do that now." Then he pulled away and gave the black unicorn a little smile. "So, if you like bucks, why—" He gestured vaguely in the direction of Star House. "You mean Arlost. I was barely older than a colt, and an older, powerful mare took me into her bed. And she was like you, confused and hurt. So there was no way I could tell her no. I won't say it was forced, but she was the first mare I ever interacted with. And the last." Okay, that was my cue to go. "Not even Blackjack?" "Or stay." Damn it, P21, why did you have to ask that? "No. No offense to Blackjack, but I could never be in a relationship with her. She's far too self-destructive," Priest said gently, but with a firmness that made my butt hit the floor. Another kiss, then I started to creep away, face burning in embarrassment. I definitely didn't want to hear any more. Then, "Do you like Blackjack?" I dashed back as silently as a zebra, poking my head around the corner to peek at the pair again. Okay, maybe I should just hang around a little longer, just in case. I bit my foreleg just to make sure I didn't speak as my ears twitched. He couldn't. He wouldn't. "What's not to love?" P21 sighed. But what?" "She saves ponies. She'll save the entire world if she can. I can't even make it on my own for 10 minutes. He closed his eyes. "I just wish I didn't hate her so much." That made my blood chill till I heard him choke and curl up a little. "I just wish I understood what I was supposed to feel. I'm used to hate. I hate so damn much. And I feel horrible for hating my friends," he said as he pressed his face to Priest's neck. The black pony hugged him gently. "I'm such a bad pony, and she's so good it hurts. But she killed him, though. I should hate her, shouldn't I?" "You can't forgive and love some pony who killed some pony you loved. That's messed up." Then Priest calmly looked right at me. My eyes popped wide in shock and embarrassment, but he slowly shook his head with a little smile. "The first step towards healing hatred is admitting it. Get it out of your system. Don't let it fill you up until you're drowning in it. You feel what you feel. You do what you do. And you don't let fear, shame, or hatred control you." He stroked P21's mane. "I'm sure you can tell her how you feel." But P21 clenched his eyes and shook his head. "I can't. Not to her. Not till I can look at her without wanting to kill her. Not till I can, without feeling shame," he said softly and trembled. She saved my life, and a part of me still wants to kill her." He cringed and curled up against Priest. "What is wrong with me?" Priest just patted his back. "You're in the hoof, P21." And that was all that needed to be said. "I'm sure that when you're ready, she'll be happy to listen to you," he said as he looked at me with a firm gaze that demanded I treat P21 with far more care than I had. Still, biting my lip, I nodded. I'd never bring it up, not until he was ready. Priest sighed, stroking his mane as he looked back down at the buck in his embrace. P21 sniffed quietly as he looked up into Priest's eyes, and Priest gazed back. He told me that meeting him was the luckiest day of his life. "I know the feeling," Priest said softly, and once more their lips met and their eyes closed, Priest's in kindness and P21's in desperation. I was pretty sure that was my cue to leave. I trod away silently.